Are you thinking about getting into collecting in the Pokemon TCG world? Then this video might be for you. Hello there and welcome on into the cafe. I'm 16-Bit Ferret, and this week we're going to be talking about getting into the world of collecting. In this video we will cover where a good place to start is in breaking into this hobby, and we're going to be breaking this up into several parts because there's a lot to talk about, and putting it all into one episode is just going to be a little bit too much. But for this video we'll be starting off with the basic building blocks you should know before getting started. With that being said, let's get into it. Part 1. What are you wanting out of collecting? When it comes to collecting in any corner, it's important to ask yourself the question, are you getting into this because of nostalgia, or are you getting into this because you want to buy, flip, and try to make a profit? Whether your answer is the former or the latter, I understand both completely well, and they're both valid. On the nostalgia things, it's the feeling of reliving your childhood, having all those cards you grew up with in binders, just looking at them, just page and page after them. It's a great feeling. All while, yes, the trading card world does have a lot of money in it. With back in 2021, we had a lot of people getting into Pokemon because Logan Paul making a lot of news of buying the PSA Tint Illustrator Pikachu. Love him or hate him, your opinion is that right there. I'm neutral on the thing. Whatever your answer is, it will determine what you want to focus on. And I do want to say for this video, we're going to be mainly focusing on getting to collecting for nostalgia. That's what I got more experience in. As for collecting and like making profit, I have more knowledge for Magic the Gathering. Now this is a completely different beast, and that's something I'm still kind of learning on myself. With that being said, we'll be moving on to part 2. Part 2. Where to start. With all that there is out there in the Pokemon TCG world, it's really hard not to know where to start. You have base set, you have WotC era stuff, you have new stuff, you have promos, you have Japanese promos, you have obscure things. It's a lot to try to keep track of and try to focus on some things. But for this right here, I'm going to get into how I got into Pokemon collecting to kind of ease into this. So, the year was 2020. The world is about to go into lockdown. I myself, I enjoyed collecting Magic the Gathering and stuff, and I was playing and stuff. So when shops are starting to shut down and stuff, I can see the writing on the walls, so I decided, you know what, I'm going to sell all my Commander decks except for one, and I'm going to buy some sealed Pokemon stuff and some cards that I grew up with, because historically speaking, Pokemon sealed product does pretty darn well for a long-term investment. This was also well before we had the massive Pokemon boom and hype that happened during lockdown. When I was getting stuff, I was saying to myself, you know, I never actually had a base set Charizard when I was a kid. Why not now? So that's what I went out and did. I went out and I bought most of the base set Holo Rare set. And I was sitting there going through all the cards, seeing that base set Charizard, that Blastoise, that Zapdos and Raichu and stuff, and it made me feel like I was 11 all over again. It made me feel like I was opening my first pack of Pokemon cards, and that right there, that's what got me hooked. So when I started collecting, I collected in no real direction. I had no focus on it, and I was like, ooh, I like this, ooh, I like that. So it took me a while to really sit down and focus on that right there. So when I did start to focus on it, I choose to focus on something that was small, like small, easy, obtainable goals. Personally, I chose that to be the Jungle First Edition set because that is a set that has a really big spot for me. And what I did was I collected the non-holo First Edition rares of it. And when that last card came into the mail, hoo boy, let me tell you how nice it felt and the sense of pride I had, having all 16 cards right there, all on the table all at once, all in the same color sleeve. It was a great feeling. Yes, the most expensive card on the set was $30, but still, it's a small goal I set for myself, and it felt really good when I reached it. So collecting for nostalgia, so whether you're drawn to base set or something newer like the Crown Zenith Galarian Gallery set, if you're collecting for nostalgia, it's all about what you value, or at least that's how it is to me. What will make you have the reward of collecting for nostalgia is set completion. being able to sit back, like I said, and just look at what you've collected, like a whole set of something, it's a great feeling. Now, if you're also collecting to flip for a profit, set collecting is also a good way to go, because you'll have people out there who are like myself, who buy one piece at a time to collect a set, and let me tell you, you'll have, one seller here will sell this, one seller here will sell this, and if you have a full set you're selling to somebody, people are usually willing to pay that premium to get everything all at once. Because when you're buying also from a lot of other people too, a lot of different people have a different opinion on what near mint is. I've received a bent card once and someone said, oh yeah, it's near mint. But anyways, I'm getting a little bit sidetracked on that right there. We're going to get into what I want to say is the most important thing when it comes to the building blocks of collecting. So let's get into that. Part 3, important advice. When getting into this hobby, it is super easy to feel the need to dive in deep and just pick up a lot of stuff. Now, any hobby, remember, it's a marathon, not a sprint. You need to pace yourself. And I will be saying that multiple times because it's a very important thing to drill into people's heads. When you go online and you see pictures of all these people and stuff showing off their big massive collections and stuff, those collections, those took years and years to build. It's just, we see the final product and we see this whole giant thing. And when we see that right there, we feel like, oh, I need to be on that level right there. No, go on your own journey. It's important. Pace yourself. Next thing to also put into perspective too is set a budget. It is super easy to get the high of the buy and go, ooh, I'm gonna buy this. Ooh, I'm gonna go buy that and stuff. Next thing you know, you'll spend like $400 and your budget was $200. Yeah, it's happened to me a time or two, but it is what it is. It's something you gotta be mindful of, is setting yourself a budget. And you want to be locked in tight for your budget, because it's important. Because if you go over your budget, you'll most likely dip into things like savings, other things that you need to take care of. But if you want to add more to what you're putting into, make some cutbacks on things, like don't get that coffee, cut back on those bag of nuts. So for me personally, my monthly spending thing for my collection is $200. Now that is for the whole month. Why, yes, if I wanted to add something big to my collection, like a near mint base set Charizard, it would mean I have to save up for it. It is also a hard limit for myself too, because if I'm not careful, I can easily talk myself into picking up something over my budget. It is easy for anybody to do that when you get into this hobby. You're like, okay, I have a budget of $50 this week, what am I gonna do? And then you're looking at one card, and next thing you know, you somehow talk yourself up to a $60 card, then a $75 card. Be like, I can swing 60. And when you do that right there, you start looking at everything around that range. And so, whatever your goal is, stick to it. Do not talk yourself into something even more than what it is. It's rough at first, I know, but it's very important to take care of and actually do. But yeah, anyways, that's going to be it for this video, folks. I want to say thank you all so much for I want to thank you so much for watching. Words are hard. And I will see you all next week. Like always, I hope you have a Duke day. And before we go, I want to say a big shout out to the following things. This video is made possible thanks to Cardboard, Coffee, and the 8-Bit Dojo. And I will see you next week.